Welcome to Martini Time. Yes, it's that time of day again, 5 o'clock. And today's been a beautiful day in Blackstone, the center of the world, but then you too are the center of the world. I talked about that this morning in my Buddha's in the Landfill. I hope I'm doing 2 talks a day. One in the morning around 9 o'clock called Buddha's in Your Landfill, or Buddhism Made Plain and Simple. And also relax at the end of the day with a martini and a chat with you at our happy 15 minutes. And so, but all I know is what's on Facebook. And my God, what's on Facebook? What's in the news? You know, it's hard to believe that today is, I don't even know what day it is. It's Monday. I know it's Monday because my wife goes to Rotary and I go out and get some fried chicken. So that's the way I know it's Monday. But just think what's happened in the last 3 days. Friday was the indictment of the 12 Russian intel officers. And then you had the European Union, and then you had the Trump's faux pas with the Queen, you know, when he got in front of her, and then you had the jungle, the rumble in the jungle at Helsinki. That's what it was, a rumble in Finland. And the rumble now is just going like boom, the rumble's going on. So what I wanted to bring, the idea I have is to kind of like, what I hope to bring and what I hope in my comments, what I hope understanding I bring is the wider view. I have I'm a retired photographer and I have a beautiful wide angle lens in my camera bag. And when you put the wide angle lens on, you see the whole panorama. And then you can focus in on a bird or a person or whatever. But the wide angle is all in focus. When you use the narrow focus lens, the foreground is in focus and the background is blurred. So what we do is supply our own background. All right, let me draw another analogy. The green screen. So you put the weatherman there in front of the green screen. Now everything is green screen, but it originally started with the weatherman. You put the weatherman in front of a green screen. He's the foreground. Then you can project a different background there. Now movies, everybody uses it. So you project a background. You project a story behind the foreground. So everybody sees the same foreground, but the background changes. So they're not really. With this device, projected background, you project your story on the background, which gives meaning to the foreground. But if you were to put on a wide-angle lens, you would see the actual background. There would be no projection. There would be no story. There would be just this. The bird would be in a field. You would see the bird, using as an example, in the context of its true environment. But with the green screen, you can put that bird in a snowbank. You can put a snowbank behind it. You can put that bird anywhere, and it changes the meaning of the bird. So you can change the meaning of the foreground by changing the background. But if you put on a wide-angle lens, you see the foreground in relationship to its real background. So today at Helsinki, so you have the wide-angle lens is seeing, here's Trump and Putin in Helsinki, and the whole world is watching. And what did Trump do? He projected his own story on the background. He wasn't aware that he was not aware of the context he was in. He was not aware that he was standing next to Putin that had just been indicted by the FBI for attacking the United States democratic system, the very system that makes us a democracy. So it was kind of like a digital 9/11, an electronic 9/11. So he's standing next to Putin, who knows he did it, and we know he did it, and he projected his story on the background. So he was back in the campaign. He projected his narrative on the background. So now we're struck with the juxtaposition of Trump's background story that he projected up there to give himself meaning, which was totally absurd, in the sense that he even brought up the conspiracy theory that the Democrats created the Russian hacking by leaking their own emails to make Trump look bad. That's a conspiracy theory, that the Democrats did it. So that story that he projected, that he's been following, his narrative, his story that he uses at campaign rallies, you see, he projected himself. He believed he was in a campaign rally, and he projected his campaign story behind himself, you see. And now we've got the juxtaposition. We're sitting there with a real wide-angle lens on, and we're seeing, wait a minute, where are you? You're standing next to Putin on the world stage, having all of this information just been laid out, you see. That's the reality. And you're standing in front of a green screen projecting. So now you got the juxtaposition of his story, his Trump story, and reality. So the American people have to choose what's real. So we're kind of like been caught up in this whole Trump thing. We've been caught up in the personification of magical thinking. Magical thinking. Now, we live in what's called a liberal, scientific, capitalistic civilization. The capitalism can go a little bit of this or that, but it's basically a capitalist system and a liberal democracy. It's not a theocracy like Iran. It's based, even though you got labor parties and all the different parties, it's a liberal democracy that has been evolving since the Enlightenment. And it's the Western civilization, you see. But it's based on scientific facts. This is not a magical society. If you go to the doctor, you don't do a witch doctor's dance. You don't ask a shaman to rid the disease. You go to the doctor because he knows the facts. You know, what are the facts? Joe Friday, what are the facts in Dragnet? Our justice system is based on facts. Our whole rationality, our consciousness is based on facts. And we come to truth by the collection of evidence. That's the way our system works. It's not magical. But we've been injected with a magical crisis, like opioids or heroin. The system is injected with the heroin of magical thinking. Now, magical thinking disregards the facts. And the story is important. The story is the fact. So what you see then basically supports your story. And this magical story is that a Savior has come to fix us. The magical thinking of a Savior. Now, this magical thinking can be religious thinking, but it's the main idea that a Savior is going to come and restore us. And Trump sold himself as that. I've come to restore America. I've come to fix America. I've come to restore America. Magically. Just by my willpower, I will magically restore America. Just my gut, my instinct, I will restore America. I don't need experts. I don't need facts. Don't need all of that. It's by my instinct, my gut, my magic. Magic, I will restore America. I was watching one of Anthony Bourdain last night. He went to New Jersey, and he was at Atlantic City, and there was the Taj Mahal, Trump's magic, and it was empty. And there were clips when he came to Atlantic City, and he was going to restore Atlantic City and build this magnificent Taj Mahal, and all the money would come in, and Atlantic City would flourish and be born again. And it all collapsed. In debt. Didn't even pay people that built the thing. Magical thinking. And so, so we've kind of like been, and Fox News has been, let's face it, has been a speaker for magical thinking. And it didn't all start with Trump. I mean, this magical thinking has been part of the GOP since Nixon. Since Nixon, there has been this strain of magical thinking of the savior. Reagan was the savior, came in from the West on a horse. The man on a horse is coming to save us. And this is why good religious people get seduced by this political magical thinking. That the Messiah is now a political Messiah, like Trump. They come together, you see. And that's what's happened to our country. Magical thinking, and there's nothing wrong with magical thinking when it stays in religion and has a spiritual reference and not a political reference. But if the reference becomes political, then there's going to be a story projected on the green screen, and we're going to put down our wide-angle lens, and we're going to see everything in reference to the story. So evangelicals see everything in reference to the Bible, and the Bible's a story. Nothing wrong with that. But when you put the Bible stories on a green screen behind political figures and change the clothes and change the, so it becomes a bunch of people like the political figures are in the Bible. And the Savior has come. You see. And then once you get a Savior, once you get a guru, whatever he does is God's will. Can't criticize the Savior. He's above the law. He fulfills the law. He transcends the law, you see. He's not beholden to facts and the law. That's magical thinking. So anyway, my thoughts for today. And hopefully, we keep saying this over and over again, there has to be a turning point. There has to be a turning point. But what Mueller is doing is laying out a sea of facts that cannot be pushed away because of the detail. And I believe there are, and most people do, that we have three legs, a three-legged stool here. The first leg was the attack on social media. That fell some time ago. Friday, the other leg came down, which was the intelligence Russian officers responsible for the hacking. Now there's going to be a third leg, because it needs three legs to stand. And the third leg will be the Americans that were helping the Russians target their attacks Just like in special forces in the Army, you have somebody up there with binoculars targeting the artillery. Yeah, go over there a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. There were people in America who were telling the Russians where to target their digital artillery. And that will be the third leg. And that hopefully will be the end of magical thinking. At least this particular show. At this, because when the facts get to the point that the green screen, the narrative, no longer has legs to stand on. So each leg of the three-legged stool that Mueller is dropping takes away the legs of the magical thinking. So the magical thinking reality was built on three legs of fantasy. And one by one, Mueller is removing those legs with incontroversial facts, inconvertible, whatever, facts. At least that's the way it seems to me. Thanks for dropping in. I'll see you tomorrow morning with Buddhas in the Landfill. And if you like my talks, share them. They're on YouTube. And subscribe. Ed Conley at YouTube. Thanks for dropping in.